Good afternoon, class. Are we here? Students, kindly acknowledge your presence. Am I audible? Great. Great. Thank you. So I'll quickly check the homework completion. Where's our homework? I think this one is the homework. Only eight of us have uploaded the homework. Differentiate 200 functions. Only 8 of us have uploaded. But apparently the due date is set on 4th of August. Okay, so you still have one more day. Kindly finish the homework and submit it by tomorrow. Kindly finish the homework and submit it by tomorrow. I already see that there are 8 uploads. Okay. So you guys, good job. Hey, who is this, da? Someone uploaded a presentation on kidney. I don't want to read this. Is this 200 functions of a kidney or something? Who is this? Shakti Avinash Nagarajan. Oh no, sorry. Rahul Moganraj. Rahul Moganraj has uploaded a biology assignment for physics. Please, Rahul Moganraj, upload your homework properly. I asked you to write questions and answers only. I don't need any steps. Jeffrey, you just need to specify the question as well as answers. Questions because it's all your questions, no? So I wouldn't know the questions. So lots of people are uploading a lot of images. I would still suggest to upload a PDF, but maybe PDF is growing big. Maybe that's why you are uploading images. So all right with me, no problem. As long as it works, that's good enough. So if you can see the screen, if everybody can see the screen, this is the format in which I would like to see the homework happening. Understood? D by dx of 90 is equal to 0. Simple. D by dx of 7x plus 6 is equal to 7. But Roshan Vijay, d by dx of 7x plus 6, now there must be brackets for 7x plus 6. If you don't put brackets, it means that you are only differentiating 7x and 6 is a different term. So be aware, be careful about it. From question number 6 onwards, you're fine. From question number 6 onwards, you're fine. You have put the brackets. But for the first 5 questions, you did not use brackets, beware. You want to type it in Word document and upload? Yeah, you can, but it will take a lot of time because this is all functions now. It might be difficult for you to type it in Word and upload. Prasanna Venkatesh. Writing is much faster. Sri Raghavendra, this is KNMS. Your homework is not showing here because this is KNMS. So maybe if I go out and you are from which school? KVSS. I don't know if they have. I hope it will work. From KVSS school, I see some uploads. Only 2 of you, of course, Jeffrey Robson and Raghavendra. You have uploaded. Good job. From KVSS school, there are 2 uploads. I think there are other schools also, right? If I'm not wrong, there is Mahatma. No uploads from Mahatma school. Maybe TNPL has some uploads. Yeah. TNPL Bharat Kumar has uploaded. Good job. All right, no problem. We still have one more day. Tomorrow is the date of submission. By tomorrow night, please make this done. Okay, make this finish. Okay, all right. So the previous homework, JE Calculus, I see some uploads there. Okay, good. Good job, you guys. Blossom, you want to see, yeah? Blossom, no uploads from there. Gokul, you asked Blossom as if you have uploaded and it's not showing there. Come on. You did not upload your own homework, Gokul. You just wanted to see if your friends have uploaded. Bad idea. Okay. So let me close the chat. We'll start the class now. Good afternoon, kids. The previous class we had already discussed the rules of differentiation, and we had also discussed several applications of derivatives. Okay. The last thing we saw was maxima and minima. I gave you some questions to practice on maximum and minimum. Here are some 15 questions there. So maybe I'll just discuss these answers. Okay. How do I discuss? Where do I write? I'll also paste the picture now here. Hold on. Yeah. So here are the questions. Let me quickly write the answers for them. We'll quickly discuss these answers. Okay, Pranav says a pretty good question, sir. Was helpful in mathematics exam yesterday. Actually, the question was there which asked about minima and use the method you taught and got the answer. Good enough. All right. So these are the questions. I hope you can see the screen properly. So let me quickly find answers for these. Question number 1. I'm only writing the answers. Okay. For what value of x does f of x is equal to x square minus 6x plus 5 have a minimum? Okay, they are not asking you for the minimum value of that expression. They are only asking you for the value of x where that function attains a minimum. Meaning you're supposed to find x where f dash of x becomes 0. F dash of x is 2x minus 6. That becomes 0 at x is equal to 3. That's all. That's the first answer. Second question. What is the minimum value of f of x is equal to x square minus 2x minus 8? And where does it occur? So in this question, they're asking you x value. That is where it occurs. And they're also asking you the minimum, which means you have to substitute that x value back in the function. So what do you do again? F dash of x is equal to 0. So 2x minus 2 equals 0. This implies x is equal to 1. This is one answer. I'll put tick marks near the answers. Okay. That is one answer. Minimum value is f of 1, which is equal to 1 square minus 2 into 1 minus 8, which is equal to minus 9. Okay, that's another answer. Third question. What is the minimum value? What is the maximum value of f of x is equal to minus x power 4 plus 3x square? Same way, minus 4x cube plus 6x equal to 0. This implies, again, don't cancel away x. Okay, if you want to do that, then you consider that root x is equal to 0, or now you can cancel out x and you get x square is equal to 3 by 2. Okay, or x is equal to plus or minus root of 3 by 2. So you get three values of x. Okay, you get three values of x. You find f of x value for all three x values. F of 0 is equal to 0. F of root of 3 by 2 is equal to what? Minus 9 by 4 plus 9 by 2. This would be 9 by 4. And then what? F of minus root of 3 by 2, which is equal to minus 9 by 4. I think it will be same, plus 9 by 2, which is equal to 9 by 4. So clearly, this is the maximum value of the function. This is the minimum value of the function. So they're asking you maximum only, no? So the answer is 9 by 4. Question number 3, answer is 9 by 4. Question number 4. What is the minimum value of f of x is equal to 8x cubed minus 6x square plus 7 for positive x? So f dash of x, 24x square minus 12x is equal to 0. This means x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 1 by 2. X is equal to 1 by 2. Okay, and they have given x is greater than 0. So x is equal to 0 is ruled out. Only x is equal to half needs to be considered, which means f of half is equal to, that is probably the minimum value. F of half is equal to 8 into 1 by 8 minus 6 into 1 by 4 plus 7. This is 1. So 8 minus 3 by 2, which is equal to 13 by 2. That is the minimum value of that cubic function, cubic polynomial. Kaushik Babu asks, Kaushik Babu, if you spam one more time, I will throw you out of the class. You ask a question in chat and wait for the teacher to respond. If you copy paste, if you keep copy pasting in the chat box, I'll kick you out of the class. Right. Okay, anyway, the homework was posted in Learnity or Classroom. It is posted in Learnity. I think I also posted it in Classroom. That's all, right? But you have to upload the homework only in Learnity, not in Classroom. Right, thanks. So fourth question, the minimum value of f of x is 13 by 2. Question number 5. What is the maximum of f of x is equal to 16x minus x square, and where does it occur? The same thing. 16 minus 2x is equal to 0. This implies x is equal to 8. That is one answer. That is where maximum occurs. And what is that maximum? F of 8 is equal to 16 into 8 minus 8 square, which is basically 8 squared only, 64. That is another answer. That is the maximum value. Okay. Sixth question. Where is f of x is equal to root x closest to 1, 0 point? This question is a tricky question. Nice question also. The question is, where is f of x is equal to root x? I can call that y is equal to root x also, no problem. F of x can also be written as y equal to root x. Y is equal to root x will probably have a graph, doesn't it? So the graph of y equal to root x is this. The graph of y is equal to root x is that, as shown in the picture. Sorry. This. The graph of y is equal to root x looks like that actually. Okay. But anyway, the question is this: where on this graph, okay, at any point, some point on the graph, where on this graph is it very close to 1, 0? 1, 0 point is here. 1, 0 is on x-axis. So, which point on this graph is very close to that 1, 0? So, is it this point, or is it this point, or is it this point? Like that, we have to find. Okay. The thing is, we don't know which point it is. So, I'll take a random point. I'll take a point, say P, which is x comma y. Let me consider a random point x comma y on the graph. Now, from coordinate geometry, what is the distance formula? Distance of x comma y from 1, 0 is d is equal to root of, you know the distance formula between 2 points, right? distance between 2 points x comma y and 1 comma 0. Distance is x minus 1 whole square plus y minus 0 whole square becomes y square. So d is equal to root of x minus 1 whole square plus y square. Now what is the question? Sixth question. Where is f of x is equal to root x closest to 1 comma 0? So f of x is closest to the point 1 comma 0 where d is minimum. So we have converted an English question, let us say, into a maths question. I called it something in the last class. This is called mathematical modeling. We changed that question into a maths question, calculus. Okay, d is equal to root of x minus 1 whole square plus y square, and now I need to find where the expression d is minimum. That's all. Okay, even simplified way, d is equal to root of x minus 1 whole square plus, look at the expression. The curve is given by y is equal to root x, which means y square must or can be replaced with x itself. Inside the expression, y square may be exchanged with x itself, may be substituted with x. Y square is nothing but x. So d is equal to this, root of x minus 1 whole square plus x. Now I need to find where the d is minimum. Now d is minimum where its derivative is 0. D by dx of d is 0. So that's all you have to do. Differentiate that function and equate that to 0. How does that function look? It looks like root of something. So the derivative of that is nothing but 1 by 2 root of something. Okay, but into derivative of that something must also be considered. What is the derivative of that something? Derivative of something means what? Whatever is inside the square root, derivative of that. Derivative of that is 2 into x minus 1 into 1 plus 1. Right? This is the overall derivative of d expression. For this expression, the derivative is as shown. That must be equated to 0. When you equate that to 0, this denominator will fly over to 0 and the numerator will be equated to 0, which will give you 2x minus 2 plus 1 equal to 0. This implies x is equal to half. Okay, minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Minus 1 goes to the other side, becomes plus 1. X is equal to half. So that is where the function becomes minimum. But they are asking you point on the graph. So the point on the graph is x is equal to half. Using x is equal to half, you can find y value. Y is equal to root x is the graph equation. So y is equal to square root of 1 by 2, or you can say 1 by root 2. Okay. So answer, what is the answer? 1 by 2 comma 1 by root 2. This point is on the graph, is where the graph y is equal to root x is the closest to 1 comma 0. This is the answer. Did we understand this question or not? Question number 6 is a particularly tricky question. Did we understand this question? Question number 6. Kaushik Babu, why is it important to study calculus? This is why. To be able to find which point on a graph is very close to any particular given point. This is one of the applications, yes. Sixth one to be explained again. Okay. Sixth question, they ask, where is f of x is equal to root x closest to 1 comma 0? F of x may be replaced with y. Okay, so f of x is equal to root x may also be read as y is equal to root x. And for every expression between y and x, you can basically draw a graph. The graph for y is equal to root x looks like this. You don't need to know how to draw the graph yet. Okay, but for understanding a concept only, I have just drawn the graph here. Y is equal to root x graph looks like this as shown in the picture. There are several points on the graph. Every point on this graph obeys this expression. Obeys this expression means what? If there is a point where x coordinate is 4, then y will be equal to 2. If there is a point on the graph where x coordinate is 1, then y will also be 1, root of 1, no? If there is a point x is equal to 2 on the graph, then y value will be root 2 at that point. Like that, there are several points on the graph and all those points obey this expression. Y is equal to root x. X coordinate and y coordinate at any point on this graph are related as y is equal to root x. Which means if you know x coordinate, then you already know y coordinate also because you know the relation between them. Got it? So assuming there exists a point x comma y, there are many points in the graph on the graph, right? Assuming one of those points is x comma y, random point, we find the distance between that point and 1 comma 0, because you want to find the point on the graph which is very close to 1 comma 0, which is the closest to 1 comma 0. So you are finding the distance. The expression for distance between x comma y and 1 comma 0 is this. Sir, how do I know that? By using distance formula in coordinate geometry. In 10th standard, you have learnt it. Distance between 2 points x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2 is given by square root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. Done. X minus 1 whole square plus y minus 0 whole square. So that is the expression for distance. That is expression for distance. But this x and y are related as y is equal to root x. If y is equal to root x, then y square may be written as x. Or you can replace root x in place of y. So instead of y, if you write root x, it will become y square will become x. So this whole expression is in terms of x only. So now we have written d as a function of x completely. Now you want to find the value of x where d is minimum. D is the closest. No, you want to find the point which is closest to 1 comma 0, which means d is minimum, right? So you want to find where d is minimum. How to find whether where a function is minimum? Derivative of the function being 0. So differentiate this, equate that to 0. That's all I did here. When I do that, I get x is equal to 1 by root 2. So x is equal to 1 by root 2 is the point on the graph which is closest to 1 comma 0. But it's a two-dimensional graph, so it will have x coordinate as well as y coordinate. I just calculated a x coordinate. How do I calculate y coordinate? Because they are related as y equal root x. I can calculate y coordinate like that. Y is equal to root x, using x equal to half, y is equal to 1 by root 2. So this is the point where this is a point on the graph actually. This point is actually present on the graph. Okay. So this point is the closest to 1 comma 0 by being on the graph. All right, good. Okay, so next question. Question number 7. The sum of two numbers is 8. What is the maximum value of their product? The sum of two numbers is 8. What is the maximum value of their product? In mathematics, I think I told you before that mathematics is all about pattern matching, observing patterns, which means mathematics relies a lot on logic. It relies a lot on patterns, a lot on symmetry, proportion, etc. Look at the question and try to obtain some symmetry there. The sum of two numbers is 8. What can those two numbers be? Could be 1, 7, could be 2, 6, could be 2.5, 5.5. That or not, 2.75, 5.25. Sum of two numbers is 8. I can have any pair of numbers that can add up to 8. However, what is the maximum value of their product? Some extreme thing is happening here. Some maximum value of the product must happen. Say for example, 8 is written as 1 plus 7. What is the product of 1 and 7? Just 7. What if you write 8 as 2 plus 6? Then what is the product of 2 and 6? 12. So it has increased, right? What if you write 8 as sum of 3 and 5? Then the product is 15. It is still increasing. So the closer and closer the two numbers are becoming to each other, while there are some big stays as 8, their product keeps becoming bigger and bigger. So you could guess by intuition, by simple observing pattern, you could guess or you could predict that the product becomes maximum, right, when the both numbers are equal to each other. So if sum of two numbers is 8 and both numbers are equal to each other, then it means each number is 4 and the product is 16. So that should be the answer. That should be the answer. You can do like that. But if you solve, if you just answer, if I tell you that's how you answer this question, you will try to answer every question like that only. That's not how. You have to do more practice. When you look at more questions like this, then you will get an understanding of when you can do this and when not you can do this. Okay. So anyway, for this question, how do I do it? Traditionally, how do I do it conventionally? Sum of two numbers is 8. So let the numbers be, let them be what? X, 8 minus x. We did a question like this in the class before. Their product. Let their product be f of x is equal to x into 8 minus x. That would be 8x minus x square. You want to find the maximum value of the product. So to find maximum value of f of x, I would equate f dash of x to 0. This will give you 8 minus 2x is equal to 0. This means x is equal to 4. So x is equal to 4 is where the product gets maximum. So therefore, maximum value of product, which is f of x, is equal to 8 into 4 minus 4 square, which is equal to 16. 32 minus 16, 16. That is the answer here. Okay, that is the traditional way of doing it. You cannot go wrong this way. However, in exam time, you want, I mean, in an exam ambience, in an examination, you would want to save some time. And you can save time by using your intuition, your practice. Okay. 8th question. The sum of two numbers is 10. What numbers maximize their product? 5 plus 5. Maximum product is 25. Done. We have already done such questions, so I am not going to extend it further. Question number 8 is that. Okay. Question number 9. The sum of two numbers is 20. What is the minimum value of the sum of their squares? What is the minimum value of the sum of their squares? Can you answer this? Sum of the two numbers is 20. So an extreme thing will happen when the two numbers are 10 and 10. So the minimum value of the sum of their squares is x square plus y square is greater than or equal to 200. 10 square plus 10 square. 10 square plus 10 square. Right? The sum of the squares of the two numbers is probably going to be more than or equal to 200, meaning minimum value is 200. Could be anything more than that. Okay. 10th question. Find two positive numbers x and y whose product is 64 and whose sum is a minimum. Okay, so now this is a reverse question. This is a reverse question. No, they have given you the product of two positive numbers and they're asking you those numbers such that their sum is a minimum. So what will be the answer? The product is 64. See, it's a perfect square, which means the two numbers is probably 8 and 8 for the extreme condition to happen. Okay, so the minimum of sum is root 64 plus root 64, which is equal to 16. So that could be the answer. Okay, I'm saying that could be the answer because I want you to prove for yourselves. It's an easy question to solve. Do it. 11th question. What number exceeds its square by the largest amount? What number exceeds its square by the largest amount? Let it be x. They're asking some number, no? Let it be x. What number exceeds its square? Okay, x exceeds its square, that is x square, by how much? X minus x square. This is the accession. I can call that e of x maybe. Okay, the value by which the number x exceeds its square, x square, is given by x minus x square. I am calling that as a function e of x. Okay, what is the question? By the largest amount, how should this happen? So e of x should be minimum, sorry, maximum. That is the question. Okay, e of x should be maximum. This basically means e dash of x is equal to 0, which means 1 minus 2x is equal to 0. This implies x is equal to half. Done. Finished. That is answer. Okay. See, these are quite simple questions. If you can convert them into proper maths questions, mathematical modeling, if you can do, these are simple questions only. What number exceeds twice its square by the largest amount? Same way, no? Here, x minus 2x square is e of x. Okay, what number exceeds twice its square? So x minus 2x square. Same way. 1 minus 4x is equal to 0. This implies x is equal to 1 by 4. Done. Finished. 13th question. What is the largest rectangle whose perimeter is 60 feet? What do you think? What do you think? What is the largest rectangle whose perimeter is 60 feet? The rectangle, you know what is a rectangle, right? By pattern matching, by pattern observing, I could say that the perimeter with a fixed perimeter, the rectangle with a fixed perimeter will have the maximum possible area if it is a square. A rectangle with a fixed perimeter will have the maximum possible area if it is a square. If you ask me how, I don't want to prove it to you. Please check. Please try to prove it to yourselves. If you cannot prove it to yourselves, ask me. I'll give you a hint. Perimeter of a rectangle is 2 into length plus breadth. 2 into L plus B. That they have given the value. Perimeter is equal to 60 feet. Okay. So 2 into L plus B is equal to 60. Which means L plus B is equal to 30 feet. L plus B equal to 30. So sum of two numbers is 30. Given area must be maximum, which is product of the two numbers, L into B. So given sum is fixed and product is maximum, is to be maximum, what do? You just make sure the two numbers are equal to each other. No, that is what we did all these questions. We solved like 5 questions like that. So if the two numbers are equal, L and B are equal, it means it is a square. So then what is the answer then? The two sides are 15 and 15. So the maximum area would be 225 feet squared. 225 feet square or 225 square feet. Again, think about it. Again, think about how I did this. Please. If you cannot prove it yourselves, if you cannot understand it further, I will teach you, no problem. Ask me. But try to do this. Try to eliminate as many steps as possible. That is what practice should give. 14th question. Verify that the largest rectangle of a fixed perimeter is a square. Good. If you do the 14th question first, then 13th question will be a cakewalk. Verify that the largest rectangle means what? Biggest area. That's all. Okay. Verify that the largest rectangle of a fixed perimeter is a square. You can do it now. Try to prove it. You can just prove it like this using numbers. 15. What is the largest area of a right angled triangle in which the sum of the lengths of the shorter sides is 10 centimeters? Okay. What is the largest area of a right angled triangle in which sum of the lengths of the shorter sides means do not consider hypotenuse. The other two sides add up to 10. So what is the largest area? Again, if you draw a right angled triangle, if you think about it, it's basically half of a rectangle. A right angled triangle is basically half of a rectangle. If you draw a diagonal of a rectangle, you cut it along the rectangle. Basically, it becomes a right angled triangle, right? So the right angled triangle will have the maximum area, then the rectangle will have the maximum area. The rectangle has the maximum area when it is a square for a fixed perimeter. Similarly, a right angled triangle will have the maximum area when its perimeter fixed. I mean, when the sum of two shorter sides is fixed, it has the largest area when it is an isosceles right angled triangle. Not just any right angled triangle, when it is an isosceles right angled triangle. If it is isosceles, the two shorter sides will be equal. If the sum is 10, then the two shorter sides will be 5 and 5. So the answer is half into 5 into 5. That is area of a triangle, no? So 25 by 2, okay, square centimeters. That would be the largest area of the right angle triangle. You understand the logic here? If you understand the logic and observe the patterns properly, with a lot of practice if you do, then you will understand these patterns. You will understand this intuition, how this is coming out to be this way. I hope you understood the exercise, all of you. If you have any doubts, please ping me on WhatsApp or ask me after the class. Yes, Petri, what doubt do you have? Quickly. Nikhil Krishna, you can do that. That is very good. That is how you should be doing it. Is Petri asking it out? Vignesh, sir, you are teaching so fast, sir. This is discussing homework. I am not teaching anything new. Vignesh, I am not teaching anything new, Vignesh. This is a recap of differential calculus that has been already taught, first of all. And I am only discussing the homework now, which means you should have already seen these questions. Okay? There is nothing that if you want some time to understand a question, you should have already read it. This was a homework or this was practicing, not an official homework, but this was given for practice. Thanks. Let me ask. Sir, in question 6, when there is no change in the tone, how can minimum or maximum exist? Okay, good question, Vetrivel. We are not finding the maximum of root x. Vetrivel. See, Vetrivel is asking this. Y is equal root x function in 6th question. Bar. All of you look at 6th question. Y equal root x function looks like this. So clearly it is an increasing function. And it is increasing forever. It is never going to stop decreasing or it's never going to stop increasing. It is a forever increasing function as x is greater than 0. Okay. He's asking if it is forever increasing, how can I find maximum value? How can I find minimum value? We are not finding the maximum value or minimum value of root x. We are not trying to find the maximum of this graph. We are trying to find the maximum of this length. Okay. When the graph grows bigger and bigger, the distance of the graph from 1, 0 keeps increasing. We are trying to find the minimum value of that distance where it is minimum. And if you think that minimum distance happens at 0, 0, apparently it's not. You just calculated. No, it did not happen at 0, 0. It happened somewhere at other points. Nikhil Krishna, if you try to find maximum on the graph, then will it be at infinity? Okay, Nikhil Krishna, if the maximum is at infinity, it means there is no maximum. Okay, if it looks like, if it feels like the maximum is at infinity, it means there is no maximum. If it feels like the minimum is happening at minus infinity, it means there is no minimum. Okay. Vikasini, sir, what is arc tan x and how to differentiate it? Arc tan x is something called inverse trigonometric function, tan inverse of x. And how to differentiate it, I have not taught you. You do not need it now. So I did not teach you how to differentiate inverse trigonometric functions. You will learn more on it in mathematics. Your maths teacher will take care of those things. Please, stay calm until that. I mean, remember that question until then. Yeah. Samhita, can you please explain the 14th problem? Not now, later, ma. Balamurugan asks, may I know what is power rule in derivatives, sir? Power rule, I don't know. I have never heard of it. Maybe it is this. Derivative of x power n is n into x power n minus 1. Maybe that. I don't know. That probably is power rule. Okay. But I have never specifically heard of that rule, power rule. At least in good books, there is no such thing called a power rule. Okay, so so that is the homework discussion. We will move on to integrals. We'll move on to integrals and see. This is the last slide of the Jamboard, and that's all I am going to take for integration. Generalized power rule is given in a book, sir. What book is that and what rule is this? You send it to me on WhatsApp, Balamurugan. Take a picture of it and send it to me. I'll see what it is. Dev Darshan, will we get these questions from differential calculus in JEE mains and advanced exam? If yes, from mathematics or physics. Dev Darshan, this is not even a small tip of differentiation. Okay, differentiation and derivatives in your mathematics subject is much more advanced. In mathematics subject, you will learn a lot. This feels like nothing if you learn mathematics if you learn calculus in mathematics. What we have learned till now is almost nothing, just basically a first couple of pages. Nitya Shri, I have not decided the test portion. I think, okay, the test portion for the upcoming weekend is this kinematics full 1D and 2D. The upcoming test, 9th August. The Sunday test. The upcoming Sunday test portions are these. Kinematics 1D and 2D full. Yeah, that's what. Okay. Kinematics one dimensional, 2 dimensions, etc. So now remember one thing. Now vectors, derivatives, okay, these things are like tools now. These things are like tools now. I'm not going to specify that there will be a test in derivatives. I will not be specifying that there will be a test in vectors. If there is a test in kinematics, that might include both of these two. Okay. Say if I ask you, velocity of a particle at a time instant is given by 3t square plus 2t minus 1 meter per second. Find acceleration at t is equal to 2 seconds. Is this a kinematics question or is this a derivative question? Is this a kinematics question or a derivative question? It is a kinematics question which uses derivatives. Yes, good. It is a kinematics question which uses derivatives concept. So I'm not going to specifically say that derivatives will be a part of the test. It will be. You have to understand. These are like tools. Okay. A is equal to 60 plus 2 because A is nothing but derivative of V with respect to time. Rate of change of velocity is nothing but acceleration. So A is equal to 60 plus 2. Okay. At T is equal to 2, A is equal to 6 into 2 plus 2, which is equal to 14 meters per second square. Okay, that would be the acceleration at t is equal to 2 seconds. Yeah, understood now. So, Ashwin, yes, I'm not writing with my mouse. I have a laptop that has a stylus, that has a pen. So that's how I'm doing this. Yeah, okay, don't worry. Okay, so we'll quickly learn integration. So anyway, remember this. Please make note of the test portion. Kinematics full. I'm clearing the frame now. If you want to take a screenshot, please do it in 5 seconds. I'll be starting integration. Okay. So integration, we are not going to learn it a lot. We are basically going to touch the tip and leave. Okay. Integration or integral calculus, we are not going to read a lot. What we will do is we'll try to approach integration as a process that is opposite to differentiation. Okay. Integration is a process that seems to be an exact opposite process to differentiation. What does this mean? If, okay, I'll write it better. Wait. If d by dx of f of x is equal to g of x, okay, if d by dx of f of x is equal to g of x, which means there is a function f of x. When you differentiate that function with respect to x, you are getting another function g of x. So if d by dx of f of x is equal to g of x, then f of x is said to be an integral of g of x. So when you differentiate f of x, you get g of x. Let us say, then what it means is if you integrate g of x with respect to x, you will probably get f of x only. So it is written like this. Representation. How do we represent this statement in mathematics? F of x is said to be the integral of g of x. How do I write this thing? Integral of g of x. Use this symbol. This is the integral symbol. Okay. That is integral symbol. Looks like an S, but you don't write like this. Wrong. It has an elongated stem. Write it properly. Writing symbols also I have to teach you because it's all standards. So write it properly. And when you write a function, the whole function must be within the integration symbol. Okay. Say for example, don't write it like this. Integral x cube plus 3x square by 1 plus sine square x by ln x. Don't write like that. Try to write the integration function completely. Like this you write. Looks better. Just for the aesthetics and understanding purposes, I am telling you. Integration symbol is that. Okay, an elongated S kind of thing. So representation that is this. Integral of g of x is written like this. Integral of g of x. Okay. In derivatives, you say d of f of x. Derivative of f of x with respect to x is written like this in the denominator dx. When you say dx, it means with respect to x. Similarly, integrals also you can do like this. You can write like this: integral of g of x dx. Okay, this tells you that you are trying to integrate the function g of x with respect to x. This is equal to f of x. That is what we say. If d by dx of f of x is equal to g of x, then integral of g of x dx is equal to f of x. Okay, in this is called integration symbol. That is the integration symbol. This function here is what is the function that is getting integrated. So it is called integrand. It is called integrand. This dx here denotes the variable with respect to which the integration is being done. That is called integration variable. That is called integration variable. These are the terms. Okay, integration symbol, integrand, integration variable. Even if one of those things is missed when you write something, when you try to write an integral, if you miss out on writing any of these three, then it is invalid. Okay, you know that d by dx of sin x is equal to cos x. We all know this. D by dx of sin x is equal to cos x. We all know this. So if I say, you should be able to say that integral of cos x dx is equal to sin x. That is what I mean to say. Okay. But if someone asks, what is integral of cos x? We don't know. That is invalid because dx is missing. Okay. What is integral of dx? We don't know. We don't even know what to integrate now. If someone asks, what is cos x dx? Basically just cos x dx. We are not doing anything here. There is no operator here. We are not differentiating or integrating here. So please beware. Write it very carefully. Do not miss out on this dx. Okay, a lot of students actually forget writing the dx in every step when you try to integrate. But that's again a mathematics teacher's problem, not mine. But yeah, I'm telling it to you anyway. Dx is just a variable like x or y. Yes, dx is a variable with respect to which you are performing integration. Yes, you are just mentioning it. It is opposite. F of x means integration of 2x is x square. Yes, Kaushik, that is right. Okay. So, for example, let us look at some examples. We know that d by dx of x square is equal to 2x. This means integral of 2x dx is equal to x square is probably that. We know that d by dx of ln x is equal to 1 by x. This implies integral 1 by x dx is equal to ln x. But there is a slight problem here. Okay, there is a slight problem. See, d by dx of x square plus 1. What is the derivative of x square plus 1? You know that it is also 2x only. Derivative of x square plus 1 is also 2x only, which means integral of 2x dx could be x square plus 1 also. So this is right and this is also right. Are you able to understand this? If derivative of x square is 2x, then you are saying integral of 2x with respect to x is x square. Similarly, derivative of x square plus 1 is also 2x, which means you should be right in saying integral of x square into integral of 2x dx is also equal to x square plus 1. In fact, I could have any constant placed here. I could have any constant placed here, which means integral 2x dx could be x square plus c, where c is any constant. Where c is any constant. That is why we call it an arbitrary constant. Arbitrary means it's a constant, but we just don't know its value. It's a constant, but we don't know its value. Okay, it is also particularly called as integration constant. Let's see there. It is also called as integration constant, which means when you integrate a function, you're actually not sure about the answer. So if someone asks, okay, say for example, integral 3x square dx, what would you answer here? What is integral of 3x square dx? What is integral of 3x square dx? Ravi, you're differentiating. Raghavendra, you're differentiating. Atish, correct. Ashwati, correct. Rest are all. Integral of 3x square dx. If someone asks you, what is the integral of 3x square dx? Immediately you should think, okay, what should I differentiate to get 3x square? Okay, you should not differentiate 3x square. You should not differentiate the given integrand. You should think of certain function which can be differentiated to get 3x square. So what should be differentiated to get 3x square? X cube. X cube is the integrand. I'm sorry, x cube is the integral. But it could be having an integration constant along, some arbitrary constant along. So you would say integral of 3x squared dx is nothing but x cube plus c. We don't say x cube plus 1. We don't say x cube minus root 3. We don't say x cube minus 1 by 7. Could be any of those. That c is an arbitrary constant. Listen, if you don't know the value of the arbitrary constant, it does not mean that it's a variable. Unknown is different from a variable. Something could be a constant, but yet not be known. Okay, the c here is a constant. We just don't know the value of it, but it is not a variable, surely. Okay, don't call the unknowns as variables. Okay, Sudarshan asks, sir, can I write x cube minus c? Can I write x cube minus c? Yeah. If c is an arbitrary constant, we don't know whether c is positive or negative or zero, whatever. If it is positive or zero or negative, what does it matter if you put a plus before it or minus before it? It does not matter at all. You can write it as x cube plus c. For all I know, I can write it as x cube plus c by 2 also. What's it going to matter? I'm saying x cube plus c and x cube plus c by 2 are both same. X cube plus c and x cube minus c are both same. Okay? X cube plus root of c, same. X cube plus ln c, same. They're all same only, because c basically can be any value. C is an arbitrary constant. If c is an arbitrary constant, it does not matter. No, it's just a constant. C is a constant means c square is also constant only. Okay, Kanish, what is the use of integration if it is simply the opposite of differentiation? I'll tell you the application of integrals tomorrow, but for now we'll only look at it as a process. I'll talk to you about application of integrals tomorrow. Okay, you understand how to perform integration, right? So we can still make a table here. We can still make a table like we did for differentiation, function, and integral. Anyway, before making a table, actually I'll make a table in the new Jamboard. That will be better. Sorry for this. I'll make the table in the new Jamboard. I will all finish the terminology today. We will write the table tomorrow. Let us learn one more thing here. There is something called primitive. Okay. So integration of g of x dx basically gives you f of x plus c. Where from here? If d by dx of f of x is equal to g of x, then integral of g of x dx is equal to f of x plus c. Okay, because we are not sure about the answer, because there is an arbitrary constant in the answer, this integral is called an indefinite integral. This integral is called as an indefinite integral. So how many integrals can a function have? How many integrals can a function have? Okay, how many integrals can a function have, what do you say, infinitely many, because you can keep changing the arbitrary constant there. Infinitely many. Okay. And what will be the difference between those integrals? If there are infinitely many answers for the integration, answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, like that, if there are infinitely many answers, what is going to be the difference between answer 1 and answer 2, or answer 2 and answer 3, or answer 1 and answer 4, whatever? What is going to be the difference? Those answers, those infinitely many answers, those infinitely many integrals are only going to differ in constant. Okay. All the integrals of a given function, all the integrals of a given function only differ in constants. Only differ in constant. Okay. Understood this? So here is an integral of 2x, x square plus 1. Here is an integral of 2x, x square. Those are two different integrals, but for the same function, 2x. And they only differ by 1, x square and x square plus 1. They only differ by 1. However, you perform the integration, whatever integral you get, all those integrals only differ by a constant or in a constant. Kaushik Babu, I missed your question. Probably I did not look at the chat. How to find that C for a specific function, sir? Nikhil Krishna, good. A question probably provides an information to be able to calculate that. So when we do applications of integrals, when we do a particular question like that, we will do it. Okay, Nikhil Krishna, we will do it. Don't worry. Sir, is constant affect the integration function? It will if the question demands. It will if the question demands. We will see how it affects later, not now. Sir, I want to always put that C. Yes. When you answer an integral, you should always put the C if you don't know the value. If you can find the value, then you find the value and substitute that. Otherwise, you should always put C. Should we have to mention C for all functions? Yes. For every integral you do, you have to mention that C, unless you know the value of the C. Mithun is asking. So integral of 0 dx. Integral of 0 is simply C only, no sir? Yes, correct. Very good. Integral of 0 is nothing but C. Correct or not? In derivatives, the derivative of a constant function is 0, which means integral of 0 would be a constant. C. What constant it is? I don't know, could be any constant. Integration table we will write tomorrow, Surya, in the new calculus Jamboard. Okay, in the new Jamboard we will write it. I'll share the link on Google Classroom, and in tomorrow's class also I'll share the link, chat box. Integral of 1 dx is equal to x plus c. Integral of 1 dx is equal to x plus c. Okay. All right, so it's time now, 4:45. We'll leave. We'll close the class now. In tomorrow's class, we will discuss more on integrals, how to perform integration for certain functions. We will write a table and we'll try to mug it up. Okay then. Bye. See you guys. I'll be ending the meeting for all.